They are young people who have no parents or no family that they can turn to, and so they have to turn to the streets, which has just been really difficult to see because I have a little sister who's 16, and there's people there that are 16, and I'm like, how did this happen?
People of Creston City, people of everywhere around the world. This is David Christopher Pacheco.
Hi, my name is Kimmy.
My name is Arthur Ortiz. Been in Denver since 1973.
Okay, so let's just talk in circles for a little bit.
Just talk in circles, just shoot the breeze a little.
Yeah.
Now they see beyond what I look like. They see what my actions are and say, hey, that is a good person.
A lot of people say home is where the heart is, but my heart's in many places. It's just I don't know where home is.
Welcome back to Homeless But Human. Here with you today is Blake.
And here with you today is Shayla.
And we have some special missionary guests, Luke and Meaghan, two of the representatives from one of the street teams in Denver. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So what street team are you representing today?
20th.
That's it, Luke? That's it. 20th. No. Tell us a little bit more about your street route. How many are on it? As Shayla likes to say, what's that flavor of the route?
Yeah, give us set the scene. What's the flavor?
Well, there's 6 of us. We have the biggest street team.
That's a lot of people.
3 girls, 3 guys, 3 second years, 3 first years.
Wow.
Okay.
So,
even split.
Yes. And even split with girls and guys, too.
Yeah.
That's
great.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we have a huge team, and we also have a huge route. So we're around all the resources. There's shelters on our routes. There's food lines on our routes. There's what we call tent cities because there's just people camping everywhere.
Yeah. Which is the scene of downtown Denver right now, which all the Denverites know that. And from out of town, it becomes pretty clear.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys cover, how many blocks are you covering when you're walking your route?
It's hard to give an exact number. Sometimes we stay within 2 blocks and just have very long conversations there.
Yeah.
Sometimes we go all the way from Holy Ghost to Samaritan House.
Which is quite a trek.
Which is quite a trek,
yeah.
I think today we probably walked over 2.5 miles.
Oh
but then
gosh.
there's days where we literally don't get around the block. We will run into one person, start a conversation, and then run into another person and end the day there after talking to 2 or 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So does your team stay a group of 6 or do you guys break off? And
we usually walk in pairs. That way we can cover a lot of ground.
Yeah.
And people also want to see different people across the route.
Sure.
And then other days we walk in 2 groups of 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But never really a group of 6. Because it could be a little intimidating.
Yeah, no, totally, right?
Honestly,
a group of 6 of us, what's up?
That
looks
could be
like
fun to try one day.
it looks like an ambush, right?
Yeah.
It's not good. I mean, if I was sitting on a street corner and I had 6 people walk up to me, ooh, all right, that's a little nerving, you know.
We all say hello at the same exact time.
Oh yeah, it's
We're
just
in sync.
that would be rough.
I'm wondering, because you guys, I think this is pretty well known, and you guys come across such a wide variety of people. And I think one of the more transient routes, is that true?
Yes.
Yeah, because you just you're around the resources, you're around, the tents and things like that. Maybe just speak into that a little bit of the different types of people that you meet. Do you have people that are consistently there, or is it more so that transient population?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have some consistency for sure. So with the street sweeping, we'll have a group of tents that we're pretty well acquainted with on 22nd and Stout. They'll get swept, they'll move down to Champa, and then the next week they're back at 22nd and Stout.
Sure.
And it's usually the same people. It's kind of cool because some of our friends move in groups.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really cool for consistency and just getting to see as many people as we want to at the same time. But then there is a lot of transients also. So I feel usually a couple times a week we'll meet 1 or 2 new people on every walk. So yeah, we see a lot of new faces, but then we also do get a good blend of seeing some old friends.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. And the tents, I mean, those are new to Denver, right? But it is different.
Mm-hmm.
The Auraria food line who we were talking with, right? The same people come every day. They don't stay there. They just come to eat, right? The resources you guys see, they're in and out, but the tents, you're walking into their domain.
Yeah.
Sure.
What's that like as your team? How have you navigated that? Any reflections from that?
It was definitely really intimidating in the beginning because it was how do I get someone to come out of their tent? You know, especially when it's cold.
Oh,
It's like I wouldn't want to leave the warmth of my home
Completely.
if I was warm at some, like if I eventually got warm, you know? So a lot of it is just having to ask if they need anything. So that's why we bring like water and socks out, and hopefully we kind of take a while to like put it somewhere so that they actually unzip their tent, speak to us, tell us their name. But we also, I think I've started to like recognize tents, which is nice. And some of our friends are like, we always hear y'all before we see y'all. And so they'll...
Meaghan, you probably on a quiet route.
They're like, there's Meaghan again. I'm like...
What did Pitar say the other day?
Yeah. Pitar was like, Meaghan, I hear you. Listen, I'm in my tent. I'm warm. I'm not coming out. Love you. Have a good day. I was like, okay, Pitar, thanks.
What an endearing message.
No, literally, he was like, I know you're there. No, I know you're there. It's okay, but I'll see you another time. I was like, thanks, Pitar. Love you. See ya.
See you later.
I mean, with your laugh like that, like,
Yeah.
I think they can hear you from.
He's like, I wouldn't mistake that laugh. I'm like, I appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah, and one of the reasons like the team brings those, you're not just wanting to leave water bottles outside the tent, which can have its merit on some days, but not trying to have it transactional, but relational. Right? Knowing you guys are going out, not bringing full meals, just conversation starters, showing our friends we care about you. We know you need water today. We know you may need socks. But we want to talk to you. We want to like encounter you. We're not here to just give you things.
Yeah.
So I love that. The new ways to get people to acknowledge your presence. That's great, Meaghan. You guys are probably a fun bunch to be out on the streets with.
Yeah.
That would be a wild time.
We try to be.
I'm curious
interesting.
to hear more about, because you are around like the resources.
Yeah.
And just for anyone that's in Denver or has driven through Denver, you can like very prevalently see homelessness on 20th Street and like around 20th Street and those streets around it. There's tents, there's people. It's like when I think of homelessness on the streets, that's the route I'm thinking of. And so I'm imagining there's like, we're obviously probably not the only sort of people, outreach workers that are going up to these people. So like, what do you think the homeless are thinking about you guys? Like as you're coming to approach and you're just coming to chat, whatever it might be, but like, what do you think their perspective is of you? Or maybe how has that changed since you've gotten to know them?
Yeah, that's a good question, because they do receive there are like a lot of other outreach programs.
Sure.
And we do encounter other outreach workers and we all kind of like wave and say hi to each other. But yeah, between us and our friends though on the street, we've been called like angels, friends, confidants,
Jesus people.
Jesus people.
Jesus people.
We are known as the Jesus people at Urban Peak.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They actually recently, I was talking to one of the girls that lives at Urban Peak. This says youth shelter.
Urban Peak's a youth shelter, and we have a very cordial relationship with all the resources down there.
Yeah. And I was talking to one of the youth that lives there, and she was just saying like, nobody knows what being homeless is like until you're homeless. And I was like, oh, I can only imagine. I was like, there's a lot of craziness out here. And she was like, yeah, there is a lot of craziness. And Brogan was like, who's another guy on our street team, was like, do we bring to like craziness to it? And she was like, actually, y'all bring a lot of like calmness and peace. And yeah, there's a bunch of just teens that don't really have a lot of guidance in their life. I mean, they're homeless at 16 years old, but they call us the Jesus people, and they just like that we go to talk. They always say that. They're like, y'all don't want anything from us. Y'all aren't trying to convert us on the spot.
Yeah,
like
not trying to proselytize.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're like, you actually just want to get to know us and you want to be our friend, which has been really cool. Like they see us as just friends, or like big sisters and big brothers, which has been just such a gift this whole entire year.
That's so sweet.
That's huge for a population that clearly had some rough mentors.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Yes.
And maybe there were some bad decisions made on their part, but that's a lot of circumstantial at that age, to be out on the streets, and so many people who want things from them or are trying to use them, and for the Jesus people to come. And I love that they call you that, but they also say you don't preach at them. Like, what a good combo, right? Like, that is the best.
The first time they were like, are y'all offended that we call y'all that? I was like, that's quite the compliment, I would say. I'm Team Jesus,
Yeah, right?
I want to be a Jesus person, so thanks. And they're always like, we like when y'all come around. Like, it's fun. Luke walked one of them to school one day, like a big brother.
It's one of my favorite memories.
Share more about that, Luke.
I was walking with Angelina, and I think there was
Angelina's one of our missionaries.
Yes. Angelina's another 20th Street team member. We were going down Broadway and we were crossing the street and we saw Izzy, who's a client at Urban Peak. She is in high school and she was walking down Broadway and we caught her. We asked where she was going. She said she was walking to school. We asked if we could go with her. And I think we were kind of cramping her style, but she did let us walk with her. And yeah, it was just like a really good memory. We walked like 5 blocks up Broadway towards her high school. And yeah, I felt like a big brother.
I asked her about it a few weeks afterwards. I was like, I heard Luke walked you to school. And she was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he did that. But it was fun. But I mean, it was almost embarrassing. But then like people were like, why do you have Jesus people with you? You know? And she was like, but I was like, they're my friends. I don't know. He just asked if he could walk me. And I was like, that's totally a big brother move.
Yeah. That is so real. Oh, a teen moment with the big brother Luke. How has that been for you guys working with teens? I mean, not many, as Shayla mentioned, this is a unique route in many ways. The teen population is unique. Thankfully, a lot of the teens get, picked up quickly by Urban Peak and some of these other ones to get them into these programs to help them. But how has that been, knowing you're just almost a little older than them, almost peers in some ways, big sisters, big brothers?
Yeah. When I think about Urban Peak, it can be really hard because I always think it's like the epitome of broken relationships. And like they are young people who have no parents or no family that they can turn to. And so they have to turn to the streets, which has just been really difficult to see because I have a little sister who's 16 and there's people there that are 16. And I'm like, how did this happen? Like I can't even imagine my little sister being here. But it's also been just the coolest gift this year, really, for me to just like dive into their lives. Like they see us and they're like, come sit down. Like we'll show us TikToks that they think are funny and half the time they're not, but it's like, but it's just like, I'm like diving into their culture, saying the things they start to say, like slay or I don't know. I'm like picking up their, queen, picking up their lingo. But yeah, it's just, I mean, the fact that they like trust us with their stories has been just honestly humbling. The fact that they like care enough about us to like let us into their lives the way that they have. A lot of them are getting into housing, which has been cool to see too. Like the transition of them from Urban Peak. Urban Peak does a really good job of housing them and getting like once they're 18. And yeah, we've just had the opportunity to have one of our really good friends from Urban Peak. Like now he's in housing and we still are able to like meet up with him, get coffee with him. He works at a coffee shop and he'll give us free coffee sometimes. Man. He's like, y'all get the friend discount. And I'm like, this is it.
Wow, that's so great.
Yeah, we're friends. Okay, thanks. But yeah, it's hard. It's really difficult because it like breaks my heart to think that like either they're orphans or runaways or they just don't have anybody to go to. And so it's just been a huge gift to like get to know them and be there as just like people who just want to listen when nobody else does.
Yeah.
And to see the community that they have amongst themselves is also really incredible. The way they look out for each other and provide for each other.
Do you have any examples in mind of that?
I'm thinking of like one in particular. So they're having a wedding this weekend that we got invited to.
Whoa.
It's at Benedict Fountain Park, which is just funny because that's where we have our lunch in the park. But they're bringing a potluck. It's a potluck. Everybody brings their own food to the reception because they want to like take care of everybody and like what everybody wants. Aww. Like the different, I guess, like your food choices.
Yeah, preferences.
Yeah, your preferences. But that's one thing. Also, another one of them, this really struck me one time, was like she got a tattoo of a bee on her arm. And I was like asking her what that meant. And she was just like, bees can't survive without community. And like Urban Peak has taught me that. Wow. That I cannot survive without community and that these people care about me in ways others haven't. And I was like, that's just crazy. Like at this young age, she's just like realizing that, yeah, she's nothing without people around her. And like got that as like a reminder every day that she needs people and she needs community.
Yeah. Wow, and what a gift that you get to be a part of that community.
I know. She was excited to show me the tattoo too. She was like, look at what I got. I was like, let's go.
That's so sweet.
No, and it's, as you share that, it's like seeing that daily. And how can you not just be filled with obviously hurt and like sorrow, but also gratitude, realizing how those are things the average American doesn't think twice about. Like, oh, hey, I have a place to sleep and someone who trusts me and isn't, using me or abusing me as a teen. And then I can go on from there. Right. And we talk about that a lot of like, how do we approach that? Right. How do we approach that knowing that we had this moment of just a lot of generosity? And I think the best thing is to approach it with gratitude. Yeah. Right. Not guilt, not frustration at their state of life, or even that we had something they didn't, but just being like, wow, Lord, thank you for what I had. Yeah. Now let me give back.
Yeah.
And calling them to that life that hopefully they'll have for their kids someday,
For sure.
I remember the first time that the Urban Peak kids came to one of our lunches. So they came to our lunch in the park. And Meaghan, I think you remember this too, because you talked to them on that day. And this was earlier on in the year, this year. And I just remember like wondering, as someone who's overseeing like the volunteers and the food and everything, I'm like, who are all these kids? Like, where did they come from? Like, surely these aren't like volunteers that signed up for today. I would have known about it. Like, who are these kids? And then come to find out that, oh, they're homeless, or they're in a tough situation. They're from this place called Urban Peak, and just my heart was broken. And I think Meaghan felt a similar thing. And what a like incredible thing that you get to be a part of it and like go and visit them after your heart was so moved just from the first time that you met them.
Yeah. I never expected them to actually show up, because like we showed up the first day, we're like, hey guys, and they're like, who are y'all? We go back the second day, I like remember their names, and they're like, you actually listen to the things we say to you? And I'm like, I remembered your name, and like to them, like that was everything. Wow. I just like picked up on their names, and so after that we invited them to lunch in the park, and then like seeing them show up, I was like, I almost moved to tears. I think just like, I can't believe they actually showed up, because I don't know. It just shows that like they do in some way, like they do care about us as well, and like this was at the very beginning of our relationship. And just to see that was, just incredible.
Yeah.
And when we feel loved, we want to be around that, right? Like those youth that you're encountering, like they know you care about them, and they may not be able to say that, but it keeps them coming back.
Yeah.
I love that. And like her describing her time with Luke walking her to high school, she like kind of liked it, but didn't. Kind of did, but didn't.
like every like older brother, like, oh, this is embarrassing. Or even with your parents, like, oh, this is embarrassing, but like,
but I kind of like it.
I love you.
Thanks. But seriously, don't, Luke, you went to close
don't talk to anyone.
It's like, oh, I love that.
I'm curious to hear from both of you, because you're both first year missionaries. So you've been at Christ in the City for, what is it?
8 or 9 months
now? 8-9 months?
Something like that.
Is it missionary life, walking on the streets? Is it like what you thought it would be?
Yeah, I came in with a very open mind. I didn't know what exactly to expect, but like that said, community life has been way more than I could have imagined. Like it's been a roller coaster for sure, but the ups definitely far outweigh the downs. It's been a huge blessing to get to be a part of this and live in the community, and then also walking the streets. Like I find, in a weird way, I find a lot of reprieve walking on the streets and getting to meet people who really can't wear masks in a lot of ways. They don't have literally anything. So they don't have any like gout or pomp to like hide their brokenness.
Yeah, there's no hiding.
Yeah, there's no hiding. Everything is just very real and very honest, and that has been really transformative for me.
Has that helped you to be that way?
I would say, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like getting to indulge in those conversations with our friends on the streets and hear them express their brokenness. I express my brokenness to them. It's a two-way conversation every time. Mm-hmm. And just getting to do that and be a part of that has definitely helped me grow speaking with anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really didn't know what to expect for especially the ministry aspect of it. I had done some homeless ministry prior to coming to Christ in the City, but it was at a food line. And so being placed on a route that is a lot of blocks and just a really big route, it's completely different in that aspect. A lot of that comes from the inconsistency of our route because there's so many people just passing through that sometimes you don't see people for a while. So that's been difficult, I would say, but then it makes it like all the sweeter when you see someone you haven't seen in so long. Yeah. And you're like, oh my gosh. And they remember your name, you remember their name. And it's like nothing, really changed. I think never imagined myself being such good friends with the homeless. I can remember like one of my favorite memories, which is funny to say, but I was like having a terrible day on the streets and I was like, I need to go. Like, I don't want to be out here anymore. Like, it was just one of those days. And I passed by one of our friends, Zach, and I hadn't seen him in a while. And I was like, Zach, I'm so happy to see you. I'm not doing well. I'm sorry. And he just like gave me the biggest hug and just like sat there and was like, it sometimes it's like that, but like, it's going to get better. It's okay. And it was like
wow.
I never imagined I would allow myself to like let the homeless see me in that way, just to like see that I am not always laughing or not always like having a good time, but like for him to just like meet me in my bad day and just like hug me and be like, it's gonna be okay, and I was like,
console you.
Yeah, I know. I was like so consoled by him, and I was like, this is just the craziest experience. And even though it was like, such a bad day, it was like such a God moment to have, or like to walk by him, because I had not seen him in months, and I was like, oh my gosh, hey, like I've been, like wanting to see you. Also, I'm not doing well, and he and he just like received me in that, and I was like, wow, thank you, like thank you for actually being my friend too,
But that is friendship.
Yeah,
it can't just be one way. It can't just be everything's going well. This is great. How can I help you? No, like we must let ourselves be helped. It's like for Zach, I'm sure that day from now on, it's like, okay, she let me help her.
Yeah.
That's what friends do. Right? Not everyone has a good day every day.
Yeah.
It's like friendship cannot be one way. And I think that's one where I think time and time again, our missionaries come in. I did this as a missionary as well, thinking I'm going to be their friend. And I only thought that as I'm just going to give them things and love on them. And I forgot about the reciprocal love.
Right.
That must be there for friendship. Right? Like you can't hide. Like Luke said, it's like their walls are down. While on the streets as missionaries, our walls are down too. Like it can be tough to hide from people who, man, their level of putting up with crap is, they can see through anything. It's crazy.
Sure. Yeah, I've been amazed by like the pursuit and friendship from them. Just like the ways they pursue my street team. I'm thinking of a few examples. Like our friend Jason shows up to the park every week, even though like it's never close and he doesn't like big crowds. And he's always like, it's because I love you guys. I'm like, okay, thanks. Or one of our other friends, Patar, he's like an incredible dumpster diver. He can find anything you need. Okay. And so one time he found this cross with like Jesus's face on it, and he kept it because he was like, Meaghan, I know you would really love this.
Oh, I love it.
So for any of our listeners who are in a city that has that sort of visible homelessness, do you have any like tips or advice? I know sometimes people just don't know quite how to interact or even how to just like react to those. Maybe they'll just like completely avoid those blocks.
Great question.
So like, what is your advice to someone who is maybe on their way to work or on their way to somewhere downtown?
I would say like one thing I've learned is like, I think people can be afraid of the homeless, but like they're a lot less intimidating than you would ever believe. That like they're human, and so a smile goes a long way. We passed a woman today and just said hi and smiled, and like she was like, oh hi, like God bless you, have a great day, and so I would say like not being afraid to say hello, and it's not like you have to stop and have a conversation, but just saying hi and smiling has been like such a game changer for me. I also would encourage like sharing your name first. That's been like huge. Is like saying hi, they say hi, and then I'm like, I'm Meaghan, and so good to meet you. And I think that like opens up a way for them to like feel comfortable sharing their name as well, because sometimes I think it can be like, why do you want to know my name?
Oh, I've heard that. Right. Yeah, I had to change that approach.
Why do you want to know my name? I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Why do I? And so I'm like, I'm Meaghan. Like share who I am first, and like maybe something about my day before getting into theirs.
Yeah. I love the smile.
So good.
Yeah. Just smile.
Well, thank you both. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for having us.
That was so fun.
Thank you to all of our listeners who tuned in today. Yeah. And thank you for sharing the stories of 20th Street Team, the widespread route with 6 members. Yeah. We were really happy to hear your stories today. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you all. And to all those who are in that heavily homeless areas of our country or world, just start with that smile. We leave you with that, and we thank you guys so much, and let's pray for those teens as we go forward. So thank you all. God bless, and we will see you again next time.
Peace.
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 Thank you for joining us on Homeless But Human today. In order to keep producing this content for you all, we invite you to consider joining our known and loved monthly giving community. This is one of the most impactful ways that you can join us on mission. Your monthly gift sends missionaries out to the streets day after day and helps us to continue recording and sharing our podcast. It's our vision that every city not only has soup kitchens and shelters, but communities who are committed to helping the homeless know that they have a home in us. And what is home but a small taste of Christ's infinite love? Visit christinthecity.org and make a monthly gift today to join our known and loved community. And if you enjoyed today's episode, do us a favor and go hit subscribe and leave a review. To get more involved with the mission, visit christinthecity.org.